Hello, and welcome to the Engineering Manager Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Tijjamulia, and today we have a fascinating episode lined up for us. We're joined by Titouan Launay, co-founder of Fileforge and a trailblazer in the tech community. Fileforge is revolutionizing the way developers generate PDFs from web technologies like React, HTML, and CSS. Today, we'll dive deep into their journey, the challenges they've overcome, and the future of document management. Titouan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Stephen. Thanks for having me. Yeah, glad to be able to talk a bit about Fileforge and our journey so far to the engineering manager team.
And I'm super excited for this. We use PDFs. I use a lot of PDFs, and what you've built out is some really cool, amazing technology. But before we dive into it in our podcast today, we'd love to get to know you a little bit better. So where are you from? What are you currently doing at Fileforge?
Yeah, so I'm French, civil engineer and architect by trade, but also a self-taught software engineer for the past 10 years. Been working at a company that we built previously, and now I'm the CTO at Fileforge. So I'm in charge of technology and our API products.
Yeah, and super excited because the engineering managers really want to hear from another CTO that's been doing this for a while. But before I start asking a couple more questions about Fileforge, do you have any fascinating reads that you've read lately? Any books that you may want to pass on to those listening?
Yeah, I'd say two books come to my mind. First one is a classic. It's 1984 by George Orwell. I just like to come back to this book every now and then. I think it is very humbling about how technology drives the society and how we interact with it. And second one, which might be a bit more original, is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Maybe this resonates more to my artsy side of my personality, but it gives great insights on how we as humans achieve things. And there are so many bridges you can make between technology and art. And that just really works well. And it's very inspiring as a founder.
Yeah, I've actually been using AI to create different pieces of art. And it's kind of really cool to experiment with that. No, but those are two great books. I'll take a look at them. Any hobbies you enjoy outside of your busy working life and that you'd love to share with the audience so we get to know you better?
Yeah, mostly I enjoy photography, especially film photography. I think it's a great way to appreciate your surroundings and also a great way to take it slow and in your own way. And especially when we spend a whole day behind your computer, just going outside and appreciating what you have around you it feels great. It's a great way to reduce also pressure and feel good. And also on that same side, there is I love orienteering. So whenever I can, I just go orienteering.
Yeah, no, those are great hobbies. I actually like going for walks with my wife and just looking at the scenery. You got to take a break from the screens and working all day. So those are good hobbies to enjoy. Let's start getting to know a little bit about your professional journey. Can you tell us a bit about the journey from Codemuse to Fileforge? What inspired this pivot? What are the key challenges you're facing in this transition?
So I think I need to take even a step back. So before Codemuse, we ran Lead and Partners, a consulting company with Pierre, my co-founder. And while we were there, so we would have to recruit developers quite often. And a pain point of ours was that onboarding was slow. It was very hard to get people up to speed and to transfer the knowledge when we would need it. So we started Codemuse to solve that pain point of ours when onboarding those new developers. And although it was linked to a real pain point, it was also motivated by the new LLMs appearing. So maybe we're a bit too technology focused. Users were curious, but we had no stickiness. And also developers are very picky. So it was very hard to build a good product for them. And hence why we came to Fileforge, because we realized when we were working at this consulting company that building documents just felt much harder than it should have been. And so we wanted to ease that pain point of ours.
Yeah, and I know I think you went through Y Combinator with Fileforge, correct? Tell us a little bit about that experience, because not everybody gets to go through Y Combinator, and you've been through it. Was it in the US or was it in Paris? Where did you go through Y Combinator?
Yeah, so the Y Combinator batch is always in the US. They're back in Paris since COVID. So we took the 3 months to go to YC in the Bay Area. And it's just a great time, great experience. You get to learn so much and be inspired. It's also very empowering because you are surrounded by companies that work and don't work. So in the same meaning that you can succeed, you also learn that it's okay to fail, but you just need to keep trying.
Yeah, no, that's a great. And was Fileforge forged at Y Combinator, or was it something that you had going into Y Combinator?
So we came into Y Combinator with Codemuse, but we knew that the metrics were not too good, and we had already things in the back of our minds. And actually, the very first basic version of Fileforge was built when we were still the consulting company, but we kind of overlooked it. And once we had some time to take a step back during the Y Combinator retreat, that's when we came up with Fileforge, and we decided to pivot. So just a few days into YC.
Okay, that's a great one. That's a good time to forge your idea, get a lot of feedback. So what are the initial steps you took to ensure you're building a product that met the market needs? Right. So you get into Y Combinator, you have this idea, you've come from a big pivot. But what was the initial steps you took that was able to cement Fileforge?
Yeah, I guess the first advice and the main thing that I really learned at YC and that everyone should apply to themselves is launch now. Everything must point towards this objective. You need to launch, get something in front of people, in front of your customers, because it's much easier to solve a complaint rather than build something out of your mind. So you get the product out, even if it's not that great, but then the customers come back telling you what you need to improve. And it's not you guessing what needs to be changed.
Well, that's really good feedback. So what was that first launch like for Fileforge? What could it do that got the customers to give you feedback?
Yeah, so we just had React to PDF through HTML, which is still what we offer today, but it was very slow. The APIs were not very good. There was no SDK. We launched that version. We got some buzz around it through Hacker News and through LinkedIn communications. And we just engaged with customers from there on.
Yeah, well, that's good. You remember your first customer that started using your product? I mean, who was that and how did it feel to get someone using something you built?
Yeah, I guess actually one of the first people who used the product is one of our now highest paying customers. They just wanted to get something done. They were there. They had their AI summaries of medical claims, and they wanted to do a PDF of it. But no one in the team was familiar with PDF. That tried to build PDF, but they realized it was much harder than they wanted it to be. And so they reached out saying, yeah, we saw you launch on YC, you know PDFs, come and lend a hand. And so we actually walked into their office and we sat side by side and we got everything set up for them.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, as you're building a product, you built Fileforge has been a good example here. You mentioned in a post about in LinkedIn about facing performance issues early on with your APIs. Can you elaborate on those issues and how you identified those root causes? Because that's performance is something many engineering managers face with the products they're building. But we'd love to hear how you did that, how you identified the root causes, and what was the issue?
Yeah, so PDF generation was slow, and it was a pain point of our customers. So we delved into Sentry, which had our performance traces, and we identified that we lost a lot of time in networking requests between our services. So we were using Supabase, Vercel at this time, and also PDF processing. And so when we delved into that, we noticed just this latency between all of these services was adding up. We had made the choice earlier on to use those services because that allowed to have the fastest go-to-market time. So it was a choice that we made, being considerate. But that was ruining the experience now. So we had to think about how we can improve that. And so delving into this, that's when we knew we had to do something about using the services and find another way to bring everything under the same roof.
Yeah, and explain this. Tell us the story how you find a different way, and then implementing it. Like go through for the engineering managers also face that challenge. Break through the process of how you were able to scale that and improve it, and how does it turn out to be better?
Yeah. First thing and the most important thing is have good monitoring on your services, because you can't improve something you can't measure. So that was the first step we took. We had integrated Sentry, so we made sure that everything linked up, that the performance traces amongst distributed services were all correctly set up. And that allowed us to identify very quickly in the breakdowns what was wrong. Like it was just going into a screen and seeing what were the lengthiest spans. That was it, really. And then once you know what is going wrong, you have some metrics. Set yourself a target so as to what improvements you want to make. And then build upon that. Find if it is cloud related, if you can do something in code, whatever solution you need to choose from. It's going to depend on your use case. We're using documents, so back and forth was the main pain point, but it could be something else. Always monitor and see the metrics. How are they improving? Are they regressing? And just have this landmark to know if you're doing better or worse. Because otherwise you can spend hours and hours and hours trying to do something and just win a millisecond or even lose performance.
Yeah, those are great feedback points, right? Explain the process. Thanks for doing that. Now let's talk a little bit about Fileforge's offering, the PDF generation API. Can you walk us through how it works, particularly how it integrates with technologies like React, HTML, CSS?
Exactly. So in a sentence, Fileforge allows companies to generate and manipulate PDF documents using the technologies they love. So our API converts HTML bundles into beautiful documents that are also accessible, that are dynamic, they can have forms inside if you need to. And where it really shines is we bridge the gap between the front end of those documents with our React Print PDF open source library, which is a set of React components that help you just bring what you have already built, but bringing to documents. In the end, a document is quite similar to a front end, right? You're going to see it on the computer. So why not do that?
And integration is key for developers. And it sounds like Fileforge has made this kind of really seamless with your open source modules and your API. So maintaining design and the layout fidelity in PDFs is crucial. What are some of the technical challenges you've had to overcome to ensure that generated PDFs match the web content accurately?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because building a PDF renderer is kind of similar to building a web browser, right? You start from the ground up and it can be daunting. So to get that faster, there are solutions that exist to convert HTML to PDF, but none of them is perfect. All have some quirks, some things that they support, some things that they don't support. And what we do is we bridge and we glue everything to make sure that what you get is what you had on your website. It is accessible, it is interactive. Being 100% accurate is hard because a PDF document, which is both its strength and weakness, doesn't have a concept of layout. There is no box. If you see a box in a PDF document, it's because you draw borders around it, right? So you did 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines. And so it means you need to place everything by hand. But what we do is we compute what it would be like in HTML, and then we generate the PDF based on that. So it is 99.9% accurate. There are things that are still a bit wonky, but we're trying to address. And there is also a lot of networking involved because you're going to have assets, you're going to have images, you're going to have fonts, and we handle all the networking part to ensure that you stay HIPAA, SOC 2, or GDPR compliant.
And now, and I'm going to ask you this later, but if they want to go try it, where should they go to go experiment with it? Tell us a little bit. Tell us your link, how to get a hold of this, and give it a test run.
Just go to fileforge.com and click Get Started. We have a very generous fee tier, so if you want to generate watermark documents, you can just generate unlimited a month, and we have 500 documents without a watermark, so you can just get playing today. We have some samples. We have repos you can clone. Just go to Fileforge, click on Sign In, create an account, and you'll be directed to the onboarding where you have many options to choose from.
Very cool. Now it's fascinating how much attention to detail goes into ensuring quality output and what you've done to enable that. Let's explore some real world applications of your technology. Can you share some of the most interesting use cases where Fileforge PDF generation has made a significant impact?
Yeah, so one of our customers is Stream Claims, and so they do medical claims processing. They use Fileforge to prepend AI-generated summaries to medical claims cases. So given that they have a very dynamic content, so they don't know that 500 pages behind, if their summary is going to be long, if it's going to be short, if it's going to have images, things like that, they use Fileforge because we bring something that is dynamic and we ensure that the summary looks great, that like text doesn't overflow to the next page. Everything is just as they would expect. And so it allows them to use AI because otherwise they wouldn't be able to, because if you have a content that is 2 sentences too long, then you need to break it into 2 pages, and it's such an overwhelming process. Another of our customers is OneLead. They use Fileforge to generate pen testing reports. And so we allow them to build beautiful and rich documents for their customers to bring more added value without having to involve a graphics designer. So they can just generate on the fly beautiful documents for their customers.
Have you done a lot of work with like reporting? I imagine people that have dashboarding software and have many dashboards and reports and want to send an email PDF to their executives. That might be a great use case. I don't know if you had any experience with things like that.
Absolutely. We have some customers, especially in the energy sector and finance, that use Fileforge to export charts and to export like rich tables to their customers to send via email, because some people do like their paper, right?
Yeah, or even the like utility bills of your utilities and how much you spent. I imagine that could be something with Fileforge, or that Fileforge could enable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You can make just more rich documents. So the PDF is no longer some text you put on a page because you need to. It's really an extension of your product to your customers.
So for those engineering managers listening, they're like, okay, the wheels are starting to spin. They're like, okay, Fileforge, how can I use it? Many different ways. Can you give us some ideas for them of like, hey, these are some of the use cases where if you have it, you got to try Fileforge. It's probably your best way, and it'll probably save you a lot of time. Can you maybe share some of those in your mind that may catch the attention of one of those engineering managers listening?
Absolutely. Reporting is a good use case. If you're in insurance, you need to generate policies. Fileforge helps with that. If you need to generate PDF forms, so if you're at a school, if you're working in education or in government, that also helps. We even help you with filling the form afterwards. If you're working with invoices where you need things to be rich, if you want to have a QR code, things like that, you can use Fileforge, and we make it super easy.
Very good. So looking ahead, what innovations and features are you planning to introduce to Fileforge?
So we're really trying to make the API first platform that developers want to use, but we're also trying to close the gap between business users and the developer side of things, especially when you generate documents. If it is your business team that needs to be editing the contents, and it is your developers team that is integrating Fileforge into a workflow, that's where we're building next. We're going to help your business users create the contents for the documents, and the developers use it easily without having to think about templates, about variables, about things that could go wrong, missing data, things like that. No, we just make it easy.
And what do you think the future looks like for PDFs? If you could go 5-10 years from now with what Fileforge is doing, what will it look like?
I guess PDFs are here to stay for at least a short period of time, because the fact that they're not dynamic is also their strength, because they can be legally binding in many jurisdictions. But I guess we're going to also see a lot more kind of hybrid documents where it is a one-time export, but you can still interact with them. You can still keep them stored in a single file. And this is something that we're also experimenting with, and we're doing some research to see how we can bring something that looks like a PDF, but is not as bad as PDF.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. The future PDFs, and your upcoming features. How do you see Fileforge evolving in this document management space that's been around for a while? In the next few years, it's a crowded space. You're tackling a niche. Where do you see yourself in this document management space?
Yeah, that's right. There's two things at play here. First is the current companies in the market are quite large and often are a bit slow to move to bring new features, and sometimes even the products, the front ends are a bit outdated, and the integrations don't feel really developer first. And second thing is AI is coming and changing how we work. And many founders are investing most of their time doing AI, but that also creates an opportunity to the people that bring the tools to help AI be a real use case, to be a real business help. And so, for example, our form filling feature can be used and can be leveraged with AI, but if you don't have it, you can't do much with AI. So we're really trying to bridge the gap here with everything that's coming.
And how's that going to work with form filling AI? It would be if you ask a question, you just put AI and it answers it for you, or how are you see the AI helping you fill out forms?
Most importantly is like when you have forms, like PDF forms, you have for insurance claims, for government purposes, for taxes. There are many companies that provide tools and automation workflows that will have the data you need to fill the form for you. For example, they will know that your car is worth something, so they can put the data in. But in the PDF form, they usually don't know which field is the field where you need to put the value of the car. And they don't know how to fill it, how to write into it, how to deal with the PDF format itself. So we're doing the last mile on these documents, on these workflows, to make sure that everything can be streamlined and there is no manual intervention anymore.
Okay, that's a great one. I'd love to see that. I think that's pretty very cool what you guys are doing with that part. So we are coming a little bit closer. How do you make sure that you're building features that are valuable, that the customer's needs, and you're not just overbuilding? Like how, from an engineering manager perspective, how do you ensure everything you build is very valuable to your customers?
Just get people involved. We had to do a first product to get a wedge, to get something in front of customers. But once you have something, you just need to be listening more than you talk. Get them on the call, get them on the Slack. We do set up Slack Connect channels with every one of our customers, so they can just hit up every time something comes up and listen to that feedback. See if they're coming again and again to ask for the same things. And you should not be prioritizing features on your product. The users should be. It should be the ones that are relentlessly asking for it to be built, not you with some whiteboard. Listen to the customers. That's the most important advice. And that's how you're going to prevent yourself from spending all your engineering time.
And how do you get any strategies for those trying to build out their advisory group or their customer basis when they're just starting out? I mean, that must be the harder part, is trying to build the momentum of customers.
That's right. That's the most difficult part. At first, don't hesitate to put out something crappy, but be sure of who you target. You want to target people that are hackers, people that are willing to share some feedback, and most importantly, people that want the product to improve because it solves them a pain point. So you should find people that are willing to do that if you're solving a real pain point. If not, maybe you should question your idea more than getting people actually on board. And then once the ball gets rolling, just never lose contact. Always be in touch.
Those are great. That's great advice. Before we wrap up, do you have any advice for other engineering managers and developers who are looking to implement similar technologies in their products? As they think, I need to add, this PDF, be able to create PDFs for my products. Any gotchas, things that you give them advice as they're thinking about that?
Yeah, I'd say mostly try not to change the mindset. We see a lot of people that when building PDFs change their mindset from what they use when they're doing front end or where they're working agile. think of documents as something that is an extension of your product. It is not something on the side. It is something that people are going to have in their hands. It is something that you're going to send them. It must be something that is iterative, something that you can change when your business has changing needs, and not something set in stone that you can never touch. Really think of it as something dynamic. That will greatly help.
Very good advice, invaluable advice. Thank you for sharing your journey, your insights with us today. Before we go, one more time, where can our listeners learn from more about Fileforge and give it a try?
Yeah, so you can go to fileforge.com. So we have a blog where you will know a bit more about the technology and also the founders' history and the startup journey. We share some advice there. We're also active on LinkedIn, and of course, sign up on Fileforge. It's free, it's generous, and don't hesitate to hit us up on Discord or on Slack if you need any help. We'd be glad to help.
Fantastic. Thank you once again for joining us. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us reviews, and share with your network. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations on our next Engineering Manager podcast. Until next time, and Titouan, thanks once again. If you stay on, we appreciate it. And take care, everybody.
Thank you very much.